everybody deals with, and everybody's just different, but I want to talk about just be honest about what goes on in my own head. Yeah. One of the greatest temptations I'm facing right now is getting lazy with my style and saying I ain't appreciating mics down. I serve too small a market, I need a larger target. You know, a broader audience who's spending dollars on this. And as of right now, this temptation for making some crazy statements, complaining, but I know how pride sounds. I'm everybody's favorite, maybe one of the greatest. The peak of every playlist. You'd be a lame to hate this, but the truth is it's foolish to say this.
Welcome to Wicked, everybody. That stands for What You Can Do, everybody. My name is Jake, and this is going to be largely a bragging session. A lot of developments today in the news. Just want to go over some of them. I haven't watched all of these videos all the way through. I just kind of want to do with you guys sort of a let's watch of American corruption. So, looking forward to a lot of these. First of all, because I can't wait to delve into this little nerd getting in legal trouble. If you need a refresher, there's a gentleman by the name of George Santos who lied his way into public office. And the New York, he's a Long Island politician. The New York Democratic Party utterly dropped the ball on doing basic oppo research on the guy. And as a result, after he got elected, it came to light that none of the things he said he was are true. Now, I did a video, I believe yesterday, delving into this fella's finances and where they came from. And it seems that federal prosecutors are interested as well. Let's have a gander. And of course, the links to all of these videos are in the description. Let's have a gander at the story on that.
Well, there are new details today about the political scandal involving incoming Long Island Republican Congressman George Santos. Sources tell ABC News that federal prosecutors are now looking into his public financial filings. The focus is on the source of Santos's sudden wealth. When Santos ran for Congress in 2020, he listed zero assets and a $55,000 salary. This time, Santos claims he made millions of dollars. He also loaned his campaign $705,000. Santos was on Fox News last night defending the very long list of lies on his resume. He claims they weren't reason enough for him to step down.
Somebody better pick up that phone because I fucking called it. Yeah, this dude was in debt a couple years back. Suddenly he's got the better part of $1 million to lend his campaign, to lend himself. I don't think so, man. In addition, boy, he had some awfully tailored towards Putin's regime talking points that he put out there. And oh, hey, he got his money, or a large amount of his money, from a Russian oligarch. Uh-oh. So, while he cannot be recalled, he might have to do his work as a public representative from the American prison system. Delightful. Let's watch, of all people. I believe they're gonna toss this to Tulsi Gabbard herself. Just an utter nut job, but she did good on this. I think they're going to Tulsi.
The reality is that I remain committed to doing everything I set forward in my campaign. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a fake. I didn't materialize from thin air. We can debate my resume and how I worked with firms such as Goldman and Citigroup.
Is it debatable or is it just false?
No,
is it debatable or is it just
debatable.
false?
No, it's not false at all.
It's not false at all. Santos's response to the scandal is not really sitting well with some of his fellow Republicans. Long Island Congressman-elect Nick LaLota wants Santos to face a House Ethics Committee investigation, and at least 2 current Republican congressmen are now calling on Santos to step aside. The Attorney General and Nassau County District Attorney are also investigating.
Delicious. Oh, it's so tasty. Oh, my word. So yeah, Santos, boy, look, he's got your standard Republican immunity. Can't be denied that he is in the Republican Party, and therefore it will be more difficult to prosecute him. Why is that? Number one, it means the political party that would be pushing for his prosecution, that would be putting the necessary pressure on the Justice Department, are the Democrats. There's 2 problems there. One, Democrats they benefit financially from Republican corruption. Wealthy Democrats do. And 2, you all, lefties, are law-abiding, patient citizens, and we need to train that patience out of ourselves. There is an illusion of equality of numbers between the Republicans and the Democrats. It ain't so. But Republicans are way more politically active, and more importantly, they are way louder. Part of that comes from the fact that they don't care if something is ethical or moral or legal or whatever. They'll chime in loudly and constantly with their opinions at the drop of a hat. And we, on the presumably left, wait to see if we're right. That's fine on its face, but the problem becomes we get gun shy when it actually is time to demand these things. And we have no shoulders to stand on. There are not lefties from previous generations that did a great job of holding people on the right accountable. So that's all going to be an issue. That said, this falls into the Donald Trump category of being so blatant that it's embarrassing for the other people that are trying to get away with crimes, the other people who are playing this game subtly. So it is in their benefit to turn on this mother effer, and it is delightful to see it happening. To have even Tulsi Gabbard going after him. And I got to give Republicans credit on this front. When they go hard. Oh, absolutely delightful. Okay, we'll keep our eyeballs on that. I do want to just stress, very dangerous to have a Russian plant in a governmental in a government job in America. But hey, it's something. Now, speaking of right-wingers in criminal trouble, it just keeps coming. Mark Meadows, I'll get right to it. He was caught burning documents. We've actually known this for some time. The rumors about him, he and others of the White House destroying documents improperly. Why is that a bad thing? It's a bad thing because if you don't do it properly, how do we know if it's not a cover-up of some nefarious activity? Have a gander at this.
We start with the January 6th committee releasing more new witness transcripts, revealing stunning new details from inside the Trump White House. More from the star witness, White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson, who told the committee her then boss, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, would burn documents. Liz Cheney asking Hutchinson, "Did you ever see Mr. Meadows burn documents in his fireplace?" Hutchinson replying, quote, "Yes, maybe a dozen times." Emphasizing, quote, he, as in Mark Meadows, would put more logs on the fireplace to keep it burning throughout the day. And that between 2 and 4 times, he had Mr. Perry in his office right before discussing the vice president's role on January 6th.
Okay, so we knew about the document burning, although it wasn't made as a big a deal a couple months back, whenever this first came out. What at least I was unaware of was the company he had, that Mr. Perry is what is known as a small fish. And that is a person who the Justice Department can use to climb up the ladder. It is extraordinarily likely that we're going to, assuming Merrick Garland doesn't chicken out entirely regarding Donald Trump, the case built against him will start with the little guys and work their way up to Trump, with everybody tattling on everybody else all the way up. There's also a level of detail here that I was unaware of that it's just delightful. I cannot wait for us to get to the point where Mark Meadows has to testify under oath, cannot avoid it anymore. Oh, that's going to be good.
That is damning testimony for Mark Meadows. Burning documents in his office fireplace during the transition period. This new revelation will certainly get the attention of the Department of Justice. More on that in a moment.
Will it, though? But okay.
Hutchinson also telling the 1-6 committee she remembers Meadows, quote, having a meeting with the outer Oval saying, let's keep some meetings close hold. Close hold, meaning let's keep those meetings off the books so no one knows. Hutchinson testified there were certain things that had potentially been left off the Oval Office diary. Hutchinson also testifying that her first lawyer, Stefan Passatino, who was paid by a Trump PAC, told her, quote, the committee doesn't know what you can and can't recall, so we want to be able to use that as much as we can, unless you really, really remember something very clearly. She elaborated, quote, in my mind, this whole time, I felt this moral struggle.
So a couple of things. Number one, the beat, that's, I think, is her name Katie Fang? Well, the gal that's in for Ari Melber, doing a solid job, right? Thing number two. I am sympathetic to Cassie Hutchinson from January 6th on. It is hard for me to totally set aside the fact that before she was possibly in legal trouble, she was fine with all the things Donald Trump was doing. Remember Kids in Cages? Do we even know if all of those kids had been reunited with their parents? She was fine with that. She was complicit in that. If you find that she gets a job on CNN or some similar nonsense, don't watch her show. Don't support this person beyond keeping her safe from Republicans that are going to try to get revenge for the one time she did anything decent in her life, which was to tell the truth about January 6th. All right, that's me being a bitter old man. Let's keep it going.
Hutchinson ultimately obtaining new counsel and doing the right thing, speaking truthfully and openly to the committee. Her testimony critical in helping the committee piece together their roadmap, improving Trump's intent.
the president said something to the effect of, "I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now." The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel.
And a shocking new piece of evidence we also learned in these transcripts. Hutchinson wasn't the only White House staffer seeking legal advice. Former Labor Secretary Eugene asked none other than former Attorney General Bill Barr what he should do after the insurrection. Barr telling him, quote, "If I were you, I'd resign. Get out of there." And these new transcripts revealing how Trump himself was considering blanket pardons for not only the insurrectionists, but for White House staff. Now, there's a growing...
And that transition would have killed me. So, something important to acknowledge here. It's not just that it would have been corrupt and, you know, oh, shame on you thing for Trump to have given pardons to his staff. It is that it shows a consciousness of guilt, which is huge in prosecution. If you're building a case about whether or not somebody understood that what they were doing was a crime, somebody doesn't necessarily have to understand that what they were doing was a crime. But man, if they did, if they tried to cover it up, if they tried to take steps to protect themselves from legal consequences, it tells you they know there could be legal consequences. Now, of course, Trump people and Trump himself, when this inevitably is proven, first they'll say, never happened. Then it'll be proven that it did happen. And they'll pretend like they never said it never happened. And they'll say, well, that's because the crazy Democrats would have been corrupt, and they would have come after me if I didn't do that. So I was just taking precautions against them. That's not going to go very far with a judge. And when the sum total of his lies are presented in a court of law, it's going to be a hell of a point when the prosecutor sets down the fact that he considered pardons for his whole staff. Going back to the little fish to big fish, that means he had reason to believe his whole staff could be in legal trouble. So, those little fish don't give about the big fish because they know he doesn't give about them. Only reason he would consider helping them out is to make sure they weren't vulnerable so that they couldn't turn on him in exchange for immunity, which is, if we have a competent Department of Justice working on this, exactly what they are going to do. Oh, 2023, folks. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I can't wait. Don't ever take for granted that the Justice Department will do its job, and doubly so if the person is wealthy, and quadruply so if they are a conservative politician. But, oh man, if they're even trying a little bit, oh, this is going to be fun to watch.
Body of evidence about the extent to which many in Mr. Trump's orbit were seeking pardons after the 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. As Ari likes to say, pardons are for criminals, and if accepted, an admission of guilt. Joining me now is Hugo Lowell, political investigations reporter for The Guardian, and Emily Bazelon, legal writer for the New York Times Magazine. Hugo and Emily, so great to have you guys here this evening. Hugo, I'm going to start with you. How big is this new testimony on Mark Meadows burning documents and concealing meetings?
No, I think it's really big. We had reported previously that we knew how Cassidy Hutchinson had testified to the committee that Mark Meadows was burning documents, and the committee doesn't seem like they're really able to establish what the documents were or kind of the contents of the documents. But circumstantial evidence suggests that it was pretty bad. I mean, if you have the leader of the House Freedom Caucus, Scott Perry, in your office while you are burning these documents, which, by the way, he could have put in burn bags marked for destruction if he really needed to. That just suggests there's a level of wrongdoing here, a potential obstruction of justice that I think the Justice Department will look very closely at.
Emily.
One thing on those burn bags, apparently, Trump's inner circle did try to get rid of some documents via putting inappropriate documents in the official burn bags. There actually is a legally okay process for burning documents from the White House, and it is those burn bags. But apparently the staff, trying not to do illegal stuff, was reassembling the documents. So, explaining this was already known, but it further underlines why he would be burning these in his own office.
We talk about consciousness of guilt, things that people do that show that they've got a guilty mind. What is your legal takeaway from these new transcripts that have just been released?
I mean, burning documents is one of the more suggestive, incriminating things you can do. It suggests you have much to hide. And when you combine this with Hutchinson's testimony that Meadows was saying there should be meetings that were taking place off the books, I mean, you really are drawing a picture of people who are planning things or discussing or plotting things they don't want other people to know about.
He a dummy.
It's just hard not to read it that way.
Hugo, there's a newly released interview transcript with former White House Press Secretary Judson Deere, within which he says, quote, beginning sometime around mid to late December, the president discovered that for the first time, my understanding, we released a public schedule of his to the public. Now, he wanted to change the way we did that, and so what became the new version of the public schedule was basically a couple of sentences about what his day would consist of. With the timing of that, Hugo, mid to late December, what does that tell us about Trump's intent in those weeks leading up to January 6th?
Well, first, can I just say the fact that Trump only realized 4 years into his administration that his schedule was public is quite extraordinary in and of itself. But I think the timing, as you say, is also problematic for Trump and his advisors, because if you think back to November, December 2020, what was going on? He was taking these meetings, especially in mid to late December, with members of Congress and with January 6th rally organizers later in January. There are key moments in the lead up to January 6th, whether it's the December 18 meeting with Rudy Giuliani and Michael Flynn and kind of the other kooky lawyers like Sidney Powell, when they're trying to discuss seizing the burning machines. And then you get to the December 21 meeting with the members of Congress and with Pence and Trump about trying to obstruct the certification on January 6th. The fact that these meetings were starting to be kept off the books, again, suggests there's a level of consciousness of wrongdoing. They know there's a consciousness of kind of intent here that if it came out would look extremely bad. And I think this kind of speaks to how everyone around Trump and potentially Trump himself knew what they were doing was potentially unlawful, even illegal. And that was the motivation for trying to keep, what was otherwise public meetings and what he clearly didn't mind previously, suddenly now a real big secret.
And Emily, to Hugo's point about knowing what's going on, knowing that it's potentially illegal, let's turn to that blanket pardon debate. Trump mulled it over, pushed for it, but White House counsel Pat Cipollone rejected it. Cipollone also rejected Trump's idea that all White House staff should receive a pardon. Trump reported.
Pat Cipollone is not a good man, but he is not a dumb man either. Just in case you're like, well, who cares about consciousness of guilt if he wipes all the guilt away with the pardons? One reason you might not want to take that particular shot, and I'm guessing this is what they're going to talk. Maybe they'll go into. We'll see. what if you miss a crime? What if you write out your pardon and it's for all the stuff leading up to January 6th, except? Remember the J6 committee charged Trump, or recommended Trump be charged with 4 crimes. Just keeping it simple here, imagine he wrote out pardons for 3 of those 4 crimes. Pat Cipollone, quite wisely, it appears, counseled him as the White House counsel to not do that for that very reason. It shows consciousness of guilt. You may not get every crime that you're doing down on paper. First of all, should we really have this power? Should an American president be able to say, nah, that's not really a crime? Conversation worth having. But it is delightful that the fact that he was discussing pardons at all is now a matter of public record. Oh my God, that is the worst of all worlds for that orange fascist. Ooh, tasty. Let's keep it going.
Reportedly saying, quote, well, just so they can't go after them for any little thing. And Cipollone saying in response, yeah, but no one here has done anything wrong. Now, I mean, Emily, that might be up for debate if nobody did anything wrong there. And I guess more thanks to Pat Cipollone for his counsel on this one. But doesn't this just further fuel the fire when it comes to Trump's criminal intent? Why pardon anyone or anything if nothing was done wrong?
Surely does.
I mean, Trump's lawyers will argue in defense, if this becomes an issue in court, that he was just acting preventatively, that, you know, he's someone who liked to use the power of the presidency in unorthodox ways. This is just one more example of that. He was doing a favor on the off chance that there was any potential for criminal liability. And I think your question will still be a good one, whether that's really a believable explanation for this idea of a blanket pardon.
You know, Hugo, Cassidy Hutchinson also testifying that QAnon was brought up often in meetings, saying, quote, I remember Marjorie Taylor Greene bringing QAnon up several times, though in the presence of the president privately with Mark. I remember Mark having a few conversations, too, about more specific to QAnon stuff and more about the ideas that they had with the election. Hugo, the close proximity of QAnon to the Oval Office. I mean, it's not even proximity, it's in the Oval. What does this tell us about how it's no longer considered to be fringe?
I apologize for the large blank space there. Corporate media tends to get this wrong. They frame things not in terms of let me put it like this. They tend to assume the best as a matter of kind of twisted ethics. But they say like, oh, Trump believed this. Trump believed that. Trump says he believes this. Trump says he believes that. This is not a guy who necessarily believed any of this conspiracy nonsense. When has he ever felt shackled to the truth? Not ever. He's simply looking for a narrative everyone can agree on so they can go do their crimes. That's it. That's all Trump's trying to do. So, when this QAnon stuff is in his proximity, he's not looking at this like, oh, that's how they did it. He doesn't think it was stolen. Trump did not actually believe any of this nonsense. He was just looking for something confusing enough that he could gish-gavel it at America, and meaning just throwing out random statistics and facts and theories until the public is sufficiently confused and everybody just takes their sides. That's all he's trying to do.
Trump has been playing around with right-wing conspiracy theories and QAnon for some time, but I think it really did ramp up in this post-election period. I mean, if you go back to his tweets and the kinds of things he was retweeting, and, this was stuff that we looked at early in the January 6th investigation as, was this indicative of Trump actually endorsing them, or was this things that he just came across and wasn't exactly sure what to do with? But it does seem that these fringe conspiracy theories that he was retweeting in December 2020 have now morphed and metastasized into something that he knows about and is actively pushing. I mean, we have been to rallies recently where they are playing QAnon affiliate associated music. I mean, he knows the signs that the white supremacists make, that the QAnon supporters make, and he kind of plays into that. And he's always been about trying to figure out where his base is. And as his base becomes more and more kind of conspiratorial, he has moved and shifted to that space as well. So I think this is a gradual progression that really started, though, in the lead up to January 6th, and has only metastasized in the months and years since.
Emily Bazelon and Hugo Lowell, my thanks to you for starting off our show tonight. Happy holidays, and always happy to see you both.
Wow. Okay, so, man, January 6th committee is just the gift that keeps on giving. One of the few W's for Democrats in the history of the whole party. And it's not even entirely theirs because it was a bipartisan committee. Oh, gosh. So if you watched my video earlier today, that was on the most dangerous thing you can hear about Trump in 2023, and that is silence. The J6 report is 845 pages. We got a couple more weeks of people pulling the gems out of this thing before it peters out. Merrick Garland is almost certainly going to try to wait it out. It's the reality. And then he's going to wait for you to forget about it. And when some other piece of news is coming out, like, say, a budget is being signed, or the government shuts down again because Republicans stalled it again. In the middle of that, or on the eve of that, whatever, at some point where it can be covered up by other news, he will, if he's going to fully chicken out, he will try to do his announcement that he's not taking any legal action against Trump. The cure for that, the way to make sure it doesn't happen, this is, after all, what you can do, is to keep talking about this, is to contact the Department of Justice regularly. My personal recommendation is once a week, write an email, and tell them you know. Tell them you're watching. Tell them you have an expectation of justice done in this country. The great thing about all this is that Trump is so bad at it. He is so dumb, and his henchmen are so dumb that it is very likely that I should probably switch back to the big screen for this. It is very likely that they're going to turn on each other as a matter of self-preservation. I got one more thing here, and it is something that should make you feel hopeful that it is possible to get justice in this country. And it hits quite literally close to home. Perhaps you will recall that a group of domestic terrorists were caught in the middle of a plan on the eve of when they were planning on doing it, trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. They were going to kidnap her and then execute her. That was their plan. They had plans to blow up bridges to stop a police response. They were training in the woods with guns, full-on Al-Qaeda-ing it. They are called the Wolverine Watchmen. Yesterday, their leader, Adam Fox, was sentenced to 16 years in prison, I believe. Delightful. Another one of these guys, I believe Barry Croft, I've been writing about him for some time now. He just got sentenced today. Have a listen to this.
Back now with more breaking news here on MSNBC. Just moments ago, one of the convicted architects behind that plot to kidnap and assassinate Michigan Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Barry Croft Jr., was sentenced in a Grand Rapids courtroom to 235 months in prison. That's about 19 and a half years, an even longer sentence than the ringleader behind that plot got. Just 24 hours ago, Adam Fox was sentenced to 16 years in federal prison. The men were convicted on charges of conspiring to kidnap Whitmer, who in 2020 became the target of a far-right series of attacks in light of the state's COVID restriction policies.
Remember, not too long ago, what was it, Eamon Bundy? I think he refused to pay his taxes, or he had illegal firearms, something like that, and he just got into a standoff with police, and they let him go. Let him go. It is very difficult to prosecute a conservative when a conservative breaks the law in the United States of America. But because of Trump's blatantness, because we have things like CPAC now putting up literally a sign in lights saying we are all domestic terrorists, because they're unable to conceive of subtlety. The Justice Department has been forced to act, and to see the Wolverine Watchman, this terrorist scum, getting actual prison sentences that will actually make the next group of terrorists hesitant to try something like this, is delightful. Oh, doesn't it just warm the heart? Well, I'm going to probably drink some alcohol in celebration of all of this news. It's just been a hoot and a half. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. I do want to say, if you have something that you would like to know what you can do about, if there's something troubling you and you want to know what it is you can do to make it better, put it in the comments. I'll look into it if I haven't heard of it before. That is ultimately the purpose of this channel. This has been your old pal Jake. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video or found it useful, and I'll see you next time.
Talk to me nice, ain't about winning, don't talk to me twice. I don't play dice, I'll make a move on the board, it's precise. The fuck is the price? I took a fiddle and dipped it in ice. I took a call and now I'm on a flight. Crew heading east, got a booking tonight. First stop is Atlanta, I got breakfast plans at the Waffle House. Next up is Miami, I'm hitting South Beach, fuck we talking about. Show out, we in Brooklyn, I'm on Flatbush and we rocking out. Then a red eye to Los Angeles, got a rich bitch waiting on the couch. Life's gonna try to hold you.